To a new video. As you can see, I have started both of my VMs in my Hyper-V VMs. So I got my Windows server running, I got my pfSense running. Before I go any further, one of the things I didn't do at the end of the backup and recovery thing was I didn't remove my old server. So I do have my recovered server, it's running, it's configured well, and I'm going to delete this one. So part of this will be just if you want to know how to clean up a Hyper-V installation. We need to delete this Windows server, so I can hit delete here, and I'm going to. Delete all the virtual machines, that's fine too. I can say delete now. The problem with this is that it leaves the disk in space, or disk in place. So let me just note here in my settings of my recovered server, I still have these two. I've got a servered backup and a recovered server. I do need to find the disks. So actually from here, I can just select in here. I can right click this thing and hit copy. I can go into my file explorer, and you might notice here, let me go to C:, that program data is a hidden directory. And I guess I might as well just navigate to it. If I can go program data, I can go to Microsoft. Notice I'm just following the path here. I'm going to Windows. I'm going to virtual hard disks. And the one I can get rid of is the original Windows server here. So I can right click here. I can hit delete. This will delete it immediately because it's such a big file. You can see there I do not need this 25 gigabit file taking up space on my disk. So again, it's too big to recycle. Do you want a permanent delete? Yes, I do. And it's going to be gone. So what that does, just again, I worry about my space. You need a decent amount of space here. You don't want to take up the entire disk drive. So I'm going to close that out. So that was just a little house cleaning before we got started. What we're going to do today is actually install a MariaDB on my Windows server. We're going to set up basically a vulnerable file that is vulnerable to SQL injection. So let's get over to our recovered server. We're going to hit Control-Alt-Delete. In here, I'm just going to log in as I normally do. And we're going to wait just a second for the server manager to start up as we do. Either the Windows users, you're used to things like, I don't want to click on this too many times. I'm just going to click that one time and open up my Firefox here. And that will take me a minute, but that's great. All right, so I'm going to note right now I'm on a Windows. I'm on a Windows Server 2016, so we are going to install a MariaDB. We'll put MariaDB download. That sounds great to me. I'm going to go to the main page of the downloads. I'm going to click download here. In here we can definitely download something, but I actually have to look for a specific version. One of the issues here is if I'm doing the most current version, I'm definitely on Microsoft Windows. Why am I not getting the version here? There it is. I need an older version. The version here, this 10.11, this worked the last time I did it, so I'm going to pick that one. I do still need to call this Windows 64-bit, and I go ahead and I click download. That looks good. 10.11, and we're going to hit download here. And this is hopefully not going to take forever, like we sometimes see. That is really quick. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and open the file. So it's an MSI, which means it's just a normal installer. This is an executable, etc. I'm going to hit OK because I'm okay with launching it. This will take a minute to start up the installation. do definitely want to run this file, so I'm going to click again to run. And now we're on an installer. Here's our install setup wizard. I'm going to hit next here. That's great. This public license is very exciting, and I'm going to hit next for that one after accepting it. I do want just the normal thing here in terms of next. Now here's the problem. Now this is completely insecure, and you got to be careful on this. I'm going to put in a password, and the password is really specific to my class, and it's actually specific to the script file that you would get. So we'll worry about that later for those of you that are just on the general internet. Notice here I'm not checking this box. I'm just typing in a password here. I'm going to hit next. This stuff I can leave the same. MariaDB, that's the normal port. And then I click install. And just while this is installing, I'm going to note that the MariaDB is actually a fork of MySQL. And so MySQL, they've actually done some stuff to make it so you have to pay for it. And more we use MariaDB. So that's just normal. So there's MariaDB install. We're very excited here. Doing some registration. Registering product. This is very exciting. All right, now we're going to finish. All right, next up, we are on a Windows server. On a Windows server, in order to connect to a MariaDB, you need what's called a ODBC connector. So we need to download and install a thing that works via ODBC. I can't remember what Open Database Connector, ODBC. I need an ODBC connector. Those are actually in here somewhere. MariaDB in the downloads. We don't want to be in the thank you for downloading. I need to be in the downloads. So actually I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to go to MariaDB, and where it says download here, I'm just going to pop that off and I'm going to make it say downloads. Okay, and I think that's where we started before, but I'm going to hit enter here. And now when we're in this little section, you notice here we're in the MariaDB community. Now we need to get a connector. So I'm going to click connectors here. If it's in the mood, connectors, please. Thank you very much. The product I need is the Windows one. So I need an ODBC connector. I don't want an alpha release. I just want a stable version. I think that looks good. And then the OS here is going to be MS Windows 64-bit. I'm going to scroll down here. This is my ODBC connector. I'm just going to double check the 164 ODBC connector. That looks good. I'm going to hit download here. And then this also needs to be installed too. Okay, so give this a second. It's a few seconds left. There we go. Wow, these are really fast. We open this file. Now we're back to this caution. And are you sure you want to run it? I'm just running. This is another setup wizard, but this is the ODBC driver. I do want this to accept it, and I just, typical is fine here. Just make sure we're doing this okay. Hit install, and this shouldn't take especially long. Okay, now make a look. This is fine. I'm just going to hit finish here because we're looking good. Now what I need to do is go into my server manager again. Then I need to go into tools, and you probably hadn't noticed before. Come on. Under tools, there's ODBC data sources, and we just installed one that's 64-bit. So that's the one we're going to use. I'm going to click here. And now I need a system DSN. So I click on system DSN. And I click add. When I click add, the driver should be here for MariaDB. Notice that the SQL server for Microsoft is there. I'm going to do the MariaDB one. I hit finish. In here, I do need to have a name. And the name is actually also very specific. So what we're going to call this one is MariaDB. And I'll show you in a minute where the names come from. So name is MariaDB. And then the username and password, I'm okay. We're just going to use that same root password. And then that password I did there. When I hit test DSN here, this is basically checking root is the username that was set up when I did the setup, and this password is what I typed in then too. I hit test DSN, and it should say, give me a minute, connection successfully established. Now we're good here, all right? So far so good. There's actually some other issues we may have to do, and we'll if those come up. In a way, it's almost better if they do come up. This is all okay. I'm hitting next and just next, and there's nothing else I need here. Okay, so I hit next, then I hit finished. All right, now that should be ready to go. I'm gonna hit OK. Now what I also need to do here is find the script files. So this is, we're done with MariaDB. I'm going to go back to, this is what we do on our app state accounts. And this again is only available to students. If you really, really want to do this and you're not one of my students, I would probably just email you this data if you'd like, because this is not actually that much of a thing. There we go. I'm gonna have to, why does that always say that? It should be already on never save. Oops, stop doing that. Stop it, never save. I think I already logged in once here. Yeah, it looks like I did. Yeah, because we downloaded the web server. And I want to note now, the web server needs to be installed in order for this to work too. So one of the things we did earlier when we installed the web server and doing that ASP.NET in the developer tools is that also makes it so these script files work. Because they use the same, it's the same basic stuff. All right, so again, if you're in my class, you're going to go into here, and I need the SQL injection assignment. And now you can, when people tell you SQL injection, you can say Dr. Haynes calls it SQL injection. I'm going to do this. This is the same thing we did when we did the web one, where you right-click on it and then you save link as, and it needs to be saved. Come on, baby. Computer's so slow. www root is where it needs to go. I'm going to go back up here. Oh, it's all ready to go. inetpub www root. That's good there. And then this list albums we're also going to save into there too. So I'm going to save link as. All right, hopefully we're done, because what we need to do next is to go to the page. We're going to go first to the DB setup page. I'm going to do it from within my Windows machine for right now. So we can type localhost, and then we're going to go to localhost/db setup. Make sure I spell it right, .aspx. We're going to hit enter. And with some good luck, we should get this database set up. Sometimes the hourglass is good, and sometimes it takes a little time. Let's see what's going on here. That is not in a mood, is it? One of the issues here is you should be patient. because part of what's happening is it's running through a script and it has to create the database and it has to add all the records to the database. And what happens is if we interrupt it now, it may not create the databases we need, or it may partially create things and not do it completely, and then we're going to be sad. Okay, so we waited and our patience paid off. It says database created, populated successfully. Some of you might get an error, and I can't remember what the error is. It's something like this person has no permissions. If you get that error, and especially if you're my student, then you need to let me know, because there's a command we can type in, which is to basically make sure the root has all the permissions it needs. So, but that's an issue we're going to worry about later, because I'm going to leave this over here. We're just going to leave that here, because now we're going to pretend to be a hacker. Now, if you did this on your own and you just did it on your own server and you wanted to do this, that's great. But what I want to do is over here, let's pretend to be a hacker. And so I'm going to connect to that computer. This is 192.168.1.2, and we're not in test form. We're going to be in a thing called list, ALBUMS, .aspx, listalbums.aspx. And I hit enter there. This is basically a thing that shows you, I believe these are the top albums for, I'm going to say 2021 or 2022. And so there's this is the dazed list. Here's Esquire. And in a later exercise, we'll have a thing over here where it can show you the album art. Here's another one. This was for NME. So yeah, there's a bunch of album lists here. One of the kind of funny things here is this album list is actually from the year that Chapel Roan ended up being a big hit. So you can see Olivia Rodrigo, right? But there's no Chapel Roan in any of these. So that's kind of interesting. One of the weird things about it is I know Chapel Roan's on one of the lists because I actually ended up buying that album, and it was so it must have been on one of these lists, because I really only buy stuff off of these that are the album has to be on one of these lists, or I don't ever buy it. So we're not seeing that in here, which is kind of interesting, I think. So what we're going to do here is try an SQL injection. So those of you that are watching and you're like, hey, why don't you use SQL map? I want you to do this the hard way. So for where it says magazine here, the first sort of thing to check for is if I put a single quote or a double quote in. If I put in a double quote, that works okay. The thing about it is a double quote is actually not the issue. The single quote ends up being it. And you get this thing. This is a typical error. It would be normal, by the way, to have, when a web server is set up, that it doesn't show any error at all. So if there's an error in it, that it just goes blank. Let me show you what happens over here. I'm going to change DB setup to list albums. And then we can do it here. And if I do it here, let me pick a magazine first. Pick days, submit. And if I put the single quote in over here, because this is on the local server, the way Microsoft at least sets up their stuff is they actually give you verbose error messages. So here it says you have an error in your SQL syntax. And right away I know, if I'm on the local server and I get these verbose error messages, I know that's an error. This is a big error. That's whoa. SQL syntax error, I know right away that this is an SQL injection, vulnerable. Over here, I don't know, but basically you can assume if there's ever an error when you put in a single quote, they probably have an SQL injection vulnerability. All right, so I'm going to, we'll just leave this here. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Let me open up a notepad. I'm going to go into the search bar. I'm going to type in notepad. I'm going to get out notepad here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you sort of how this thing works. And what happens in a web page is there's usually an SQL command. And this one, it looks like, I'm going to go back here so I can just see what it looks like. There's probably an album rank field. This is the artist name. This is the title of the album. And then there's might be something about, so we're going to put rank. We'll put artist, and we'll put in here title. There might be one for artwork. We'll just call it artwork. And then it's going to say from. And since this is a list of albums, you know, I don't know, people aren't that creative, especially not me, because I'm the one who created this. They'd probably have it something like something like best albums. Okay. And then there's going to be a where clause in here. And it's going to say, you see where it says magazine? We can already tell this is magazine. And like that's almost always what the person does. Then they're going to have a single quote around it. And then there's going to be, I'm putting a brace, but this is, we're just going to put what was chosen. Okay, so whatever was there in the what was chosen gets bumped into there. And there is an order by there, but it's actually irrelevant to what we're doing. The order by, it ends up ordering it by rank. Since, I don't know, we're pretending to be the hacker, we don't know, but this is basically the idea of this is the code. So let me just put here, and we can enter and go up. We'll just call this the existing SQL, SQL statement. Okay. So there's the existing SQL statement. Now, if we want to inject, we'll put in some here injects. All right, so the first inject that's nice to do is if you put in a single quote, and then you type here or, and then you type a single quote, one quote equals quote one. What happens is when the inject happens, we'll just put here the new SQL command. I'm just going to do this for one of the, or this one. The new SQL command is going to look like this. I can copy this, so I copy here, oops, Control C, not Command C, I'm on a Mac. Command V. And then here, the what was chosen is now not what was chosen, it's what this hacker typed in. We're going to copy that in. And what you end up with is this command. All right, this is not a lesson on SQL, but what it is it's saying like, the where just tells you what stuff to show, what records to show. And before we were saying from a certain magazine, and now we're saying if the magazine's blank. But this command, this additional stuff, the or, and then this quote one equal one, when you say or, it means basically check to see if one equals one for every row on here, and one equals one is always true. So even though magazine equals quotes is false, so magazine blank, or one equal one is always true. And so what we can do here is we can go up, and I can just type this in. And I type in quote or quote one equal quote one, and I hit enter. And this shows me now every single record in this list. Now, of course, this is fake because I did it myself. And if I type on here, I'm going to look for Chapel Roan. You guys have Chapel Roan. And look at there. Chapel Roan's right there, and Chapel Roan only appeared on one list. And that's kind of interesting, because I don't know if you knew this, but Chapel Roan the next year won like Best New Artist. And that's kind of cool. Anyway, somebody knew it. Somebody knew that Chapel Roan was going to be cool, but no one else did. I guess that's the funny part. Anyway, lessons of a middle-aged hipster, aging hipster. All right, here's the next thing. So, by the way, once you find this out on a public website, you stop here. Anything else we do from now on, if we did on a public website, we are committing a felony. This is a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act on anyone else's website. On my website, I get to do it because I own it, because I have authorized access. If I'm on someone else's website, I am exceeding my access privileges, and I'm doing it on purpose, and it's a felony. So don't do this. This is always a violation. So let's have a look. Here's some kind of fun stuff here. One of the things we can do is there's a command that tells us, I think I can just copy these over. Let me just copy this because I feel like it. Copy this. We'll try this one. Okay, oops, and it doesn't copy. So I have to hit Command C, and then I come back over here, and hit Control V. There, it does it. All right, here's our new injects. Okay, so I'm going to put another inject. I'll just put more injects here. All right, here's a fun inject. I do need to have a thing here. I wonder if this actually isn't going to work. try it though, because that single quote has to be terminated. Let me see if that works. It's funny, I have this in my notes, but I don't think it works. Let me just try it, see if it works. Nope. I'm gonna try it up here. Well, I won't try it up here. To get a verbose error message, we'll just leave it. Select version, null. All right, anyway, we're gonna go. All right, here's what we're gonna do though. We are gonna keep doing this union stuff, okay? So let me just take that one out because it didn't work right now. We can try it later, or I'll just leave it there and I'll just keep going. Maybe I'll fix it later when I decide what I want to do. Okay, here we go. So first thing I'm gonna do is, I actually know the contents of this thing anyway, and I'm gonna actually just sort of break it out really quickly of how you do this. So what we're going to do is inject a union command. Okay, let me just put here injects. We'll just put here union appends data from another table to this. We'll just call it data set. But actually, if you think about data sets, let me just delete that then. If you think about data sets, what we're doing is we have a data set that this returned a data set. And what we're going to do with union is add more data sets to the other end. So it's not really a table. Maybe we put here other tables. Okay, that's exciting. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I already know the structure of this database. And so I'm going to give you the first command. So the first one here is, we do put in our single quote, so it's going to be where, well, we'll just do it in a minute. Then I type union. Once I hit union, I can now select, and select means I can show other stuff. And I want to know which magazine got Chapel Roan right. Okay, and we're going to put album name, and then we're going to put title. Okay. Now, one of the things is we don't know how many columns there is. So I'm actually just going to put artist in here too. I think it's probably artist anyway. Okay, we're going to guess that it's 4 columns. So let me go back to dazed, because I got 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So we're going to guess it's 4. And we're going to just assume there. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, by the way, if I was in a situation where, for example, I thought this was, or I need it to be, it has to match. The number of columns in this upper part must match the number of columns in this part. Otherwise, we're going to get an error. If I have to put in additional things, I might put in like a quote A, just to have a placeholder in there. Okay. I'm guessing though that there's 4 columns in here. And I'm still going to say the name of the table. Okay. Now I don't need I do need a where clause here also, but here I need that where clause to do the 1 equals 1, so that when it gets injected into this other table, we're going to see what we need. So I'm going to put in here new SQL command. Okay. And I'm just going to copy. So we're copying this. I'm just going to show you, this shows you what the result would look like. I copy this, I'm pasting it down here. But what happens is I inject this into here. And what you end up with is, I'm going to tidy this up a little bit by the way an SQL statement normally looks. It would look something, well, it doesn't look exactly like this, but we have a union, and there's going to be 2 sets of data. And notice here, 1, 2, 3, 4 things, magazine equal quote. This will return no data because all the magazine columns have, or magazine field values have something in magazine. 1, 2, 3, 4 columns from the same table. And this time it's going to like always be 1. So here's my inject. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it up here in the magazine section. Paste. Now there's an error, and I can tell you right now the error is there's actually only 3 columns in here. So let's see if we can get Chapel Roan. By the way, I know title works, but I'm just guessing that artist works because I'm not going to look into it because that would be cheating, wouldn't it? Or me. I can actually look in the other code and just see it. Let me try 3. No, that didn't do it either. Let me just change this back to title. I think it's album artist. I don't know what it was. Let me try this one. Oh, I gotta put a space in there. We're gonna get an error. So I'm gonna copy here and paste it in here. You know, it might be album list. That's funny. Let me try this. It is so funny how this stuff. Oh, it is album list. I am cheating, huh? So I know the names of all these things, and then I can just copy and paste this in here. Now it's gonna work. Come on, baby. It's still giving me a runtime error. Union select. Magazine. Album rank. Why did I do album rank? Oh, title. I did album rank here. Try that one then. By the way, if you're my students, we are right. I was trying to not cheat, but we're doing this command right here. So I'm copying this one. Try that again. Now, here's the thing about this. There it is. Okay. So now we can see. Let me look for Chapel again. Oops, 1P, I think. No. Oh, I did the wrong thing. It's Midwest Princess. There's a Rise and Fall of Midwest Princess. That's the Chapel Roan album, number 12, and it was Rolling Stone that actually had Chapel Roan, and it was the only one with it. All right, so that's exciting. That's just a simple injection, and I do think it might be called Best Albums. One of the things right here I'm just going to note is in here you can put the name of the database name. And then you put a dot, and that's how you sort of jump out of a database into other databases. So here I am, a hacker. I want to know what other databases there are. So I'm going to type here MariaDB table with list of tables. Okay. 4 ways to list all tables in a Maria. That looks kind of interesting. Show tables command I don't really like. Let's see what this one shows. I'm going to open this in a new tab, and we're going to see if this one's a good way to do it. Show tables. That's interesting. Tables there. Show full tables. This is not good. What I want is, there it is. This is the one I want. So there is a database in here that's called information schema dot. And there's a table in there that's called tables. Okay. So let's see what's in, let me do this. So I got information schema, list of databases in information schema. Okay, so we use information schema. Let me just look here. I'm going to open this one. And this is really obvious, or not obvious stuff. This is known things. This is public information. All of this stuff it's known. Okay. So we have here, oh goodness. Okay, is it possible to list information schema dot tables or information schema dot columns? What are you doing here? All right, we're looking for, actually I want to know all of the, if I look in tables, or if I look in, where's databases in here? Let me do another one. So we're going to do MariaDB list all databases. We'll see what that one does. I don't want to show databases. I want to do information schema. Okay. Information schema, tables, table. That might be a good one. All right, we're going to do select information schema. I love this schemata. So what I need to know here is the number or the different columns in information schema. Oh, and here it is. So MariaDB documentation shows me this. In the information schema table, it has these columns on here. And look at that. I got table schema, and that's the database name, and then table name is the table name. So let me just show you we're going to construct another thing here. So let's inject here, and we're going to inject this union. I'm just going to copy that. Well, let's just type it out. Union, and I'm going to select, and here I want to see the table schema, so I want to know the database name. Oops, put it in all caps. Table underscore schema, and I want to see the table name, underscore name. And since I don't really need, do I need any of these other ones? Engine, auto increment. Like, I'm not really that interested in this other data. So I can put in one of those placeholders like I was saying. So I can put in a quote A. And here I just type in here, the name of the database is information underscore schema. And then I put a dot, and then it's the tables table. And I do need to have this where 1 equals 1. So we'll copy that one, and we're going to paste it in here. And that's going to show me all of the tables. I'm going to see the name of the database. I'm going to see the name of the table, and then there will just be a bunch of A's in here from information schema tables. So let's copy this, and let's see if our injection works. We're doing this completely blind because we're feeling like we're awesome, huh? I'm going to paste this in here, and we're going to hit enter and hope everything works. And that looks great, okay? So even though it says best albums album list, that's pretty funny, but okay. Oh, no, it isn't. This is one of my, so this is one of my databases. One of the databases is called best albums, and one of the tables in it is called album list. Remember I told you here I was using best albums, and the problem was that's the name of the, what did I end up injecting? I don't remember what I ended up injecting now. What did I inject? Union select, magazine, album rank. It's from album list, right? Did I fix that? Oh, there it is. Oh, I put it right there. Yeah, let me go forward again. So what I did wrong here, it was indeed album list right there, the album list name, but the database name is actually best albums. And by the way, you're noticing now, hopefully, that none of this is case sensitive. Okay. So the name of that table is actually best album, or the name of the database is best albums, and the name of the table is album list. Again, the name of the database is information schema here. The name of the table is album list, or no, anyway, it's tables. All right, I'm scrolling down here, and we're looking for more stuff we like. Now, you'll notice here there's a whole bunch of information schema, a whole bunch of MySQL. There's only a few places where there's only one database listed. There's sys. You can see that all of these have multiple databases in their table, but one of these is standing out, and that's right here. You see that login info employee? I bet that is going to be something. So let's try it. I'm going to go here. What we need now is to know the columns. So let's go back here, information schema table. Let me see if we can find the columns in there's got to be an information schema columns table. So we're going to go here, list all columns, and we'll put information schema. Information schema, look at that. MariaDB is so nice. They're just telling me everything I need to know. So there is indeed a columns table. And oh, wow, look at this. I can actually use table schema there, get a table name, and then a column name. And that's what I want to really start hacking stuff. So let's do another injection. I'm just going to copy this one since the new one is so close to it. I'm going to copy this baby. I'm going to copy that one. I'm going to paste it here. Let me make a little space. I don't want I think table schema is fine. Let's put in column name in that other column though. This is going to be so cool. And I'm going to put it in all caps because I feel like following their thing, but we just found out it doesn't actually matter. Information schema, and it's not called dot tables, it's called dot columns. And now let's look at this. And this is going to show a lot of stuff. If I was really into it, I could say where, I might say, like, for example, where database name equals, and then I think that one was called like somebody info, wasn't it? Let's just look at the whole thing. We'll look at a huge list because we're not too picky right now. So I'm looking in here. All right, and by the way, even though we're all excited here, we are recognizing hopefully that, oh my goodness, like we are doing some crazy stuff, right? So here's best albums. It's best albums is the database name. Album list is the table name. And there's the column names. So there's only 4 columns in that table anyway. We had magazine, album rank, title, and artist. So it ends up being that there's really just, this would not be called rank, it's called album rank. That's called artist. There's title. There's no artwork in there. So there's really 3 columns there. And then we can see magazine. So that's awesome there. Now here's all the stuff. This is the MariaDB stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff we can get into, right, by the way. If you really want to get after stuff, right, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. Well, not a whole bunch of stuff, but this tells you everything about the database. Information schema. What we're looking for is user-generated stuff, and that's not going to be so, like, massive. And we were interested already in this one called login info, and the table name of employee. And oh my goodness, look at that. This looks like something we'd be interested in. By the way, this other stuff, look in MySQL, since we can see that there's, like, this is built-in stuff. And so, like, I don't see anything else in here. Performance schema. There's sys, that's just system stuff. So this is like built-in stuff. But boy, that one there, that one looks really interesting. Login info dot employee. So let's have a peek at this, and we'll just peek at one of these and just see. Let's go in here. We're going to copy here. I'm going to make another space. So what we want here is we're going to select, and we'll just do it in order, address, and we'll put name, and then we'll put employee ID. And this one is from, it just tells me right there, there's the database name. Login info, and this is employee. Okay, that looks great. And by the way, I think what you're starting to see here is, whenever you usually get one of those massive data leaks, this is how it happened. And there's actually, I told you about SQL Map. It's more or less an automated tool. But my goodness, look at this. Marcia Dorsch, there's her address. That's pretty scary. Yeah, there's some data in here, isn't there? If I go back here, you can also see, where is it right there? Look at that. There's like something to do with it being an administrator. There's their password, email. Yeah, there's some pretty good data in there. So I think I'm going to stop here because we've really hacked the beans out of this already. If you're one of my students, there's a little further you got to go. Of course, you're going to get, I want to see that you can get all of the data out of this, or all of these out of these tables that may be hidden. And then, especially if you're one of my students, I want you to look in here. I'm back over on the server here. If you go into the file that we're running, that you can tell this one has the SQL injection vulnerability. That's this list albums. And if I right click here and let's just hit edit, this is an ASPX file. And, in this day and age with, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, whatever, I should be able to just drop this text file or this code file into one of those and say, hey, where is the SQL vulnerability? And then I can do a screenshot and I can press my teacher, here's where it was. And then I can say, hey, can you fix this vulnerability? And then, since we got one of the issues here, by the way, with LLMs is, this is it's kind of an obscure language. And so one of the things you've got to do is you have to test the fix. Like when you do an LLM, especially on these, It's like 95% right, but you have to find that 5%. So make sure you find out what's wrong, because I should be able to show the vulnerability, like where it is, what line of code needs to be fixed or lines, and then what needs to be added or removed, changed, and then actually do the fix and actually test it. When I'm done with this, if I type in magazine equal and put single quotes here, it should say, like here, it does say you're reviewing the list for or equals 1, but it shouldn't show any records here. I mean, same if there's only a single quote. It should just show you're reviewing the list for single quote and then not show anything. So when you're done, make sure you do that. But that is it for this. We have hacked the beans out of this thing. We found some really cool data in here, I think. And yeah, I think we've proven our point. So hopefully you'll enjoy the next video as much as this one. Bye-bye.